Hey guys, what's going on, and welcome back to the channel. It has been a while since I was able to upload basically an update video on where I'm at with the first gen gas truck and the 4-inch lift we're doing from rough country. Just life's been crazy. Anyway, if you remember right from where we left off, we were doing the rough country lift. We got 4-inch spring lift up front and then 3-inch blocks in the rear. We were having an issue with the 1/2-inch sleeve and the 5/8 bolt that's in the front of my truck, or front of his truck. I did have a couple of heated words with rough country. As I progressed, each person got nicer to talk with, and we got it figured out. The next day, I did do an update on my TikTok that we do have the issue resolved. So that's been a week and a half ago or so. So if you guys have not already done so, my TikTok is right here, and that is also my Instagram and Twitter. It's Chad_Myers73. If you guys have not already followed me on those 3 platforms, head over there and check them out. I do post updates there periodically when I'm not able to get out and do a video to do an update. So anyway, we did get this figured out after talking with the last gentleman at Rough Country. He said basically these sleeves are there for one reason only, and that's to protect the polyurethane bushings. He asked me if I had a shoulder bolt. I said, well, yeah, it's, you know, I've only got threads about the last inch of the bolt. He goes, you're perfectly fine. He goes, the only reason, like I said, is just to protect the polyurethane. When I was doing this, my brain automatically goes to how to remedy the situation, how to fix the situation, not resolve it, basically. So it's just how I'm wired, it's how I'm made. I try and think of a way to fix it and what I can do and all that stuff instead of, you know, actually resolving the issue. So last person I talked to, Rough Country, huge thumbs up to him. He took great care of me, took the time to look at the photos that I sent and realized that, yeah, you're good, you're golden. Basically, some trucks have 5/8 bolts, most trucks have 1/2-inch front rear, and we try and engineer and accommodate for both, or we do engineer and accommodate for both, and this is how it's accomplished. So I had just about an hour last week. I do actually have the passenger, sort of driver's side, almost 100% put back together, less the steering knuckle here, or the steering arm, so we're gonna go through, put that together. But this is basically what it's going to look like in the end game. I do have that shim in there to try and correct some of that pinion angle. It would be sitting about there with that shim out of there. With putting that shim in there, it does cock it up and takes away some of that negative pinion angle. It gets you about right where you want to sit. So when everything is all done, I will take it and have it aligned. It will be a 4-wheel alignment at one of my local shops here. And he'll go through and check all my pinion angles, make sure everything's good. If he needs to take those out, he will. If he needs to add more, he will. So he's a pretty good guy. He takes care of us pretty well. So anyway, let's go ahead and get started. Get this other spring underneath the passenger side. Get the axle 100% buttoned up to the truck. We won't tighten anything up yet as far as the 5/8 bolt here and the 1/2-inch bolt back there until we actually have the weight of the truck on the springs and at 100% weight on the truck, basically. One thing you do want to watch too, you can see right there it's leaking. I did break one of my hard brake lines, so I'm going to have to replace that. And there's a couple other things I'm going to go over at the end with this kit that I'm not 100% satisfied with. All right, I took the block out from underneath the passenger side here, and I have that all anti-seized up. I'll bring it in, I'll lay it on top of the axle. Put the backside on, I'll bring the front up and put it on, put the bolt through. Need to put a pin in there and get things lined up. Putting a generous amount of some type of lubricant on those polyurethane bushings because they do sometimes get squeaky. All right, with that leaf spring in place, it took me just a little bit longer than what it should have. I didn't even think about it. I started with the leaf back just a little bit. So on the rear shackle, it was pushed back. So therefore I was starting back here. So I had to actually push the leaf forward. It would have been probably easier just to pull it back out, reposition it and lift it up straight. But I already had the bushing started, so I just left it the way it is. You can see that the centering pin right here is off from where the hole is. The way we're going to accomplish that and get this axle moved forward is actually to extend the drive shaft. Now, I don't know how much grease or how easy it's going to move, but that's what needs to happen. You can see the other side's already locked in place with the centering pin. So this side just needs to be pushed out just a little bit. So I need to extend that drive shaft out ever so slightly. It won't take much. I'm only about probably, like I said, here's the pin, here's the hole. I'm only probably a 1.5 inches at most off. So that probably a 1/2 inch movement is going to be almost 1 inch movement up here. So it's not going to take much to get that lined up at all. On the passenger side, like I said before, because of the pinion, there is studs in the rear and a U-bolt there. So everything's the same except for on the inside. You just got to put 2 studs in, 2 longer studs in, replacing the studs that we took out in the last video. Probably wouldn't be a bad idea to put some Loctite on these threads to get them started, or to lock them in place rather. And then also we'll have the shim to put on there. Okay, so like the screen said, we are about 2 weeks later, and I really hate this rough country lift. I wish would have spent the extra money and went ahead and purchased the BBS or maybe a different brand, but this rough country lift has been giving me nothing but fits. Granted, the front most forward leaf spring bolts were an easy fix. That was my own idiocy, if you want to call it, but now we're having an issue, and that's where the reason I say we're 2 weeks later is because we had an issue with the 150 after a camp, and we had to get that rebuilt last week for a race this weekend that was canceled. So you can see right back here, we do have the 150 rebuilt. We went to a camp yesterday Sunday because the race was canceled because of rain at the racetrack, and him and Kane got some good practice. So we do have a 250 now also that he is going to be riding, because next year he will age out, or this year he actually ages out, so he needs to move into C class. So we got a 250 now also that I went to the Cincinnati area and picked up for him. So that's a 2016 YZ250F. So he's been practicing with that. I'll put a couple clips in now of him riding at Camp Oots and getting his workout in. Moving on with the lift, after I shut this off, I got to the point to where I was putting the studs in the back. Now, I wish I would have put the studs in first, but I didn't. I was kind of going ass backwards, but it is what it is. To get my axle moved back, what I did was I hooked my floor jack behind the steering arm, or behind the drag link. I'm not, yeah. Lost the name. Anyway, hooked my floor jack behind that and pulled on it, and I was able to separate the drive shaft just enough to get everything lined up and get the centering pin lined up. Went to start on the studs, and I could not get them started for nothing. They are a 9/16 course to fine on top. I cleaned all the paint off of them. I blew the threads out of the differential itself. What I ended up, and you can see how these came out. It actually flattened the threads out just a little bit there. That's what came out of it. So I'm not certain. There's the other one. That one's in a little bit better shape. So what I did to remedy it is I took a 9/16 bolt and ran it down inside there a ways. And then I took and put just a little bit more taper on the end of that. And then I took the nut and ran on the threads of the stud to see if we could get these in there. As you saw, I do have the back one in. We're gonna go ahead and try and get this front one put in place. The way I'm doing it is the same way we took a lot of the other stuff out, is just a jam nut. They do make a stud installation and removal tool, but if you got two nuts, which I hope most of you do, you can jam them together and get things either in or out. So let's go see if we can get this started. All right, see if we can get this one started in there. Got a couple threads started. Alright, to correct this portion of the steering, you have this piece that's going to go on here, because mainly the steering bracket is bolted right to the top of the knuckle. To correct that, since we're doing a lift, that goes on there just like that. And then these studs, I did check these. These thread just in here like this. And then that steering bracket will get bolted right back on top of here then. After you get that, put your lock nuts on there, buzz those down. And then the only thing left to do on this side is put the shock on. I do need to get some sway bar end links because I did break them, taking them off. And then moving everything around, I did break, I don't remember if I mentioned it in the beginning or not, it's been a minute ago. I did break the brake line on that side, so I need to get a new hard line going from here up to where the T is. All right, like I said, the last thing to do on this side is putting the shock on, so we'll go ahead and grab that and get that installed. All right, with that buttons up the driver's side. Last thing I need to do up front, another thing before I start on the back, is take care of that steering box issue. All right, if you guys remember how wadded up this was up in here, you can see I have it straightened out fairly decent. That's going to be rolled down a little bit, and then there's actually a return edge. You can see the line just ever so slightly right through here. I had to have the fender unbolted from the inner fender and from the frame, or from the body, just to try and help myself straighten it out a little bit. This is actually what it is supposed to look like. You can see that little returned edge all the way there, and then just a little bit right through here, and then it rolls down and gets bolted underneath this molding right here, the inner fender to the outer fender right here. And then there's two bolts that bolt the fender to the body itself. So we're giving it our best shot to get it straightened out the best we can. All right, with a whole lot of beating, actually the camera timed out. I think with my camera I can only record like up to 15 or 20 minutes. It timed out and stopped, but a whole lot of beating and just not even really any cussing. I did get it straightened back out for the most part, as good as it's going to get. Really not just too shabby. We are going to get a new inner fender, a new outer fender, and then also a new hood. So I think right now we're going to go ahead and get the tires and wheels on the front of it anyway, and maybe we'll just leave it squatted. Alrighty, we're going into day 3 of this. The only reason I cut her short is because it was dark out last night and you guys couldn't really get a good look at the finished squatted truck. So this is just a quick look of what the driver's side looks like. If you remember right, it was daylight when I showed you the finished inner fender well. It's straightened out good enough for right now until I can find a clean inner fender well or buy a new one. We may just buy a new inner fender, outer fender, and hood. It's good enough for now. My biggest concern is getting that rocker pulled out. I got to figure out how we're going to do that. I've saw some guys do some stuff. We may go down to my local shop here. He says he can pull it out and see if we can't work together and get her pulled out. But anyway, back up. What do you think? Should we just leave it squatted? I think so. I think just squat it. Tires and wheels are here. That was that shipment that came in the one video, but doesn't look too bad squatted. That's a big hell no. Anyway, we're gonna go ahead and we're not gonna start on the driver's or the rear today. I broke that brake line on the driver's side like I told you, so I need to make a parts run. Grab that hard line that goes from there around to the T. It's not a very long line. I'm probably gonna end up having to get just my own line, straight line, and then put all the bends in it that I need. So I'm gonna go make a parts run, grab those, get some sway bar end links that we broke, put those on there, and then that way the truck is movable because I want to turn it around to be able to do the backside. So anyway, that is going to take care of it for right now. If you guys don't mind, hit that like button, subscribe if you have not already done so. Stay tuned for part 3. We'll get the back end accomplished. So anyway guys, like, subscribe, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next one.